Hello everyone. In our today's video, I'm gonna show you how you can integrate a MongoDB within your Nextjs application. And for this purpose, we're gonna create a login and registration form and then a home page. Then I'm gonna show you how you can connect and then create a user, a login, and save the user in that Redux toolkit in your local store. Then how you can access that data. And for this purpose, as you see, we have a login page. So just remember, we are not actually registered. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to sign up page. And by the way, I'm gonna show you the page here. This is my MongoDB account, and let's go to the browse collections. And as you will see in my users, there is no data, no user is available. So first of all, let's create a registration. So now as you see that we have three fields, one name, email, and password, and this all validation is happening from the backend side, and this button we cannot access until we give the data. So first of all, let's just type that John Doe, the name, and John, just put that name just to see the validation, and just give the password 123456. Now if we are trying to create the user, as you see, email is not valid, so we need to give a valid email. So this validation is happening on backend side. So let's create an account, and as you see, account is created. There is a Toastify message, it's not coming because of that Chrome pop-up. So now if we go back to our collection and just hit the refresh one, and I believe we will be able to see the data. As you see, we're getting one ID, username, the name we have been given, we're getting an email and the password, and this password is hash with that bcrypt.js, and then also we are getting a value is admin false. So now we will be able to access that data. So just let's try with that again. Just try to manipulate, give a wrong email and wrong password. As you see, giving user does not exist, so we need to give a valid email. And now if we try again, and as you see, the invalid password. So now if we give a valid password, and we will be able to log in. So now once we logged in, we can actually now see the home page. We are seeing the ID, we have username and email, and this button, remember, we have that login button, and this button is changed because it will come up as a logout button. Now we can access all the pages. Like, I didn't create those pages because my fundamental idea to show you how you can connect that MongoDB and access those data. You can create that pages. I just keep a 404 page to let me redirect to my home page. So now in the home page, so what would happen once I logged out, right? So if I click on the logout, as you see, it's still remove the data, and I'm just log out from the instances. So now if I try to access my home page, it will not let me give it. It will always push me through to just in my login page or registration page. Only these two page I can access, but the other page, even the 404 page, I cannot access. So it will just give a blank because of that internet issue, but you cannot access those pages. So these all are the things today we're gonna create. We're gonna create that login page, registration page, and that home page. Then we're gonna connect with our MongoDB, and we're gonna access whatever the feature we need to implement this application. So stick with me. Today we are going to finish building that. And to start with, I already opened an empty folder. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open it in my terminal. So now here I'm gonna create one Nextjs application because I'm gonna use the Nextjs. So the frontend and backend we're gonna actually keep in the same application. And to create that, I'm gonna run that code, npx create. It will be next app, and we want the latest one. So just to give you name of that MongoDB YT. So the MongoDB YT, and now it gonna give us that pop-up that what kind of facility I want to implement. I want to use the TypeScript, that overall application you will be using in TypeScript. slint yes, tailwind css yes, and the source directory, I love to use the source directory, and app router, it will be yes, and the okay, that will be no, so use the default one. So now it will go and fetch all the dependencies to run my applications. And while it's installing, let's head back to our MongoDB account because we will create a MongoDB account on that. So that's the MongoDB, and let's head back to their website. Let's see what they are giving through. And by the way, MongoDB is a little bit slower, so don't freak out because it's giving you so many things free. So it will be just, we need to face that. So now it's gonna give us to the signing page, and I'm loving to use the Google or GitHub. So for our this build, I will try that Google OAuth. And with that, I will just give my account. Okay. It will just take a couple of minutes because I'm doing everything from the beginning, so you can follow through. So I'm not using my old account, I'm using a new fresh account so that you can also learn how to create. So I need to accept the privacy policy. So just be patient with me because it will just take a bit slower, a little bit lengthy time, but it will be fine. And in a way, our application is here done. So it can wait. So now here we need to create a deployment, and let's create it because it will give us that our database and the collection. So now for that purposes, I want to go free. So whatever free is available, it can save the purposes. Just I'll give the default value. That's the boats. Okay. And now we need to create a username and we need to create a password, which later on we're gonna access. I'm just gonna pass that React 2023, and the password I will keep the same password, React 2023, just for that. Don't try to use the same whatever you are seeing here because I'm gonna remove that database later on. So you can feel free to do whatever you want to do it in your own. And now for that, of course, I will remove my IP. I don't want to use that. I will use a global IP, which will be /0, so I can access that IP from anywhere else. Okay, that's my IP, and then finish and close. And okay, let's see what's giving us in the overview. So I'll not take much time with the overview. I'll just go directly to the database because that's what we need to create actually. Now in the database section, again, it's getting a bit of slower. As you see, everything is right now here. So first of all, we need to get something which is called, we need to click on the connect. And from here, we will try with the compass, and we need that URL to be copied. So let's copy that one. Now we can use that one in our application. Now for our application, let's see is it created or not. Okay, let's cd MongoDB YT, and I'm gonna open it inside my code editor. And also you can do that same thing, just go back to that folder, I believe, yeah, and then just make a right click and open that in the VS Code. I'm using the VS Code. If you prefer any other code editor, you're welcome. So now before taking it further, what I'm gonna do in the root label, I'm gonna create a .env file, and here I'm gonna just pass a MongoDB, and that one it will be URI, and here I'm gonna paste it here. And remember, I give a password, so instead of this password, this name of the password, I will just remove that one, and whatever the password you give, you need to keep it here. So that will be the default structure for my env file. And also I'm gonna give that to other thing which later on can be useful whenever we're going to be in deployment, which gonna be next.secret and next.url. So let's save it, and now we can close that one, we can close that actually. So now on let's go back to browse the collections. Of course there will be nothing available right now, so once we create, then we will just be adding those things. Okay, now let's start our application, the one we have created. So as you see, if you were with me with my channel for a long time, maybe you know how I start up with my Nextjs application, because I am creating most of the application using the Nextjs. It's very fun and go. So now that is the structure, that we have the node modules, we have the public folder, and now in the source folder we have the app directory, and here we have all are the fancy thing is happening. So we have the page.tsx where we can see all the pages things. If we run that npm run dev, so whatever gonna load initially, we're gonna actually coming it from here. So now let's just give it a time to roll up. So that's our global CSS for the Tailwind CSS configuration, and that's the Tailwind config.js .ts. So from where, because we're using the TypeScript, so that's the configure is giving, and that's the layout. And I'm gonna show you how you can customize the layout. And first of things, what we're gonna do, we're gonna change that default heading, that create next app. What we're gonna do, MongoDB logging application. So if I save, as you see, it gonna just follow up there. So in the pages, now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove everything from the main, and then I'm gonna create a new main. So it will be application, logging application. Now there is little bit different design. What is, we are actually getting it from that global.css, globals.css. So I'm gonna remove it from here. And also there is another thing, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna also remove that background image, which is, I'm gonna use my own image later on. So now what we are going to build, we are going to build three things. First, we're gonna have one main page. Here we're gonna have one page, and then we're gonna create other page. So first of all, let's create what actually we need. We need a components, and then also we need another folder which will be constants. And now for the image, actually whatever the image will, actually I'm gonna use only one single image, so I'm just gonna popping up, that's the image I'm gonna use in that profile page. And what else, and also I'm gonna use another two SVG image. Don't worry, this both image it will be available because I'm gonna give you the repo, so don't worry about that. These two image I'm gonna use also for my background. As you see, there is a background image is happening, so that's the things we're gonna create with that image. So now first let's create our header. Okay, so to create the header, that's our home, so that's the pages. So let's create first file. So it will be homepage.tsx rafce. So now it will give us to create a React snippet. So here I'm gonna call that homepage. Don't worry, I'll just go part by part because we need to create the front end, then I'm gonna connect that front end with the backend, so it will be in a very smoother way. Because if I connect the backend now, and now we're gonna create the front end, and then we're gonna connect the backend, you're gonna lose the attention of how we created the backend. So we're gonna create whenever the things actually needing. So first of all, let's create the homepage. And what else? And in the homepage, we also need another one portion, which will be our header .tsx rafce. So now what's gonna be in the, for the home page, that will be the, of course the main. So I'm gonna give some of the class name for the main, I believe. Not the main actually, because everything we're gonna create in the home page, I'm gonna just keep that main as clean as possible. And for that I'm gonna give a class name which will be full, and I'm just gonna be min height will be screen, the minimum height will be screen. And also I'm gonna do one more thing to just to let everything coming into the point. So that children, whatever we are passing, I'm gonna copy that. I would love to take it inside a div, because what I mean to do is put a class name, and I'm gonna bg jing of 950. So just giving a background, and also I'm gonna popping up with the text gray of 200. That will be the default, or also we can give it 300, just a default text behavior which we can actually render from here. So now in the header, what actually we are going to do. Okay, so now this is our homepage layout. Now we want to create two background, remember, and to do that that background actually we need to declare in the tailwind.config.ts. So now we will access that background image. The first name we're gonna give that square bg, and that one it will be URL, and then we need to give the first bracket, then the clone sign, not the clone, the apostrophe sign, and in the URL we can access that image. Remember, here is the image, so actually we are in that by default. We are already in the public folder. So square, we need to give square shape.svg, and I'm gonna copy that similar one, and that one it will be not found, and the name it will be icon. Just hit a comma, and also I'm gonna give one color which will be the also declare as colors and primary color, and that color code it will be just a CDF683. That's the greenish color it will be. So that's the default configuration we can access now. So now in the home page, as you see, we give the bin height and width. So now let's give a bg, and that bg will be square bg, and once we save, as you see, our background is available. Okay, we can access that background, and as we access the background, and also we can just give a text gray 300 text gray we have been given, so no worry about it. So now we will access the header here first. Okay, header. Okay, now it's time to work with the header. Let's go to header, and in the header what actually we're gonna create. First of all, just let's give a class name, and we're gonna keep a height of 24 and padding in x-axis of 10. So oops, it will be px. As you see, it's just pumping up in a way. And then we're gonna make a flex item center, and I'm gonna make a justify center, and that's it. So you see it's in the center, and if we give the background bj block, you're gonna see the occupied area here, but we will not do in that way because we're gonna as you see, actually now we need to go back to roll up the home page. And now to understand that one for limited time, I just removed that blocking authentication by which we are blocking the access. So now we can use the home page even we are not having the user access. So now this is our home page, so we need to create this header and other things. So in the header, first thing first, we need to create some of the portion, and the first one it will be here. We're gonna create a button, or actually we can create in a link because it will be a linkable button, and we're gonna pass that name as clicks, and the herb it will be always in the home route. So you're gonna see that one, but in here as you see there is a hover effect happening, so we're gonna implement that also. So the click is available, and by the way, what I will love to do actually, I'm gonna just remove that one first so that it will just look available for us. So now in the link, what I'm gonna do, wrapping up with lots of class name which gonna be give us this access in that. So the class name, we're gonna make it a text base, so whatever text is the base configuration it will be, and text it will be uppercase, and font it will be bold. As you see, the text is changed, and the text it will be the primary color. Okay, that's cool. And I'm gonna make it as a relative, and also I'm gonna make it as a group because we're gonna create a span to give that lining effect, and also I'm gonna make it overflow hidden. And why I'm making it, first I will make it as a normal one, later on I'm gonna show you why we make it hidden. So now let's take an span tag, and in this span tag let's give a class name. The width it will be full, and height it will be just 1 pixel, or just give it 2 pixel. Okay, and the background it will be a primary color, and it will be inline flex. I believe you're gonna see that. Okay, height 4, because it will not be xp, it will be px. As you see, it's available, but it's not in the way we want to see that. And to remove making that, we're gonna make it an absolute, and it will be like bottom it will be 0, left it will be 0. So by default, what we actually want to do it and translate x, we're gonna make it minus 100% to make it go totally left from the side. As you see, it's in the left, but as you see, we make it as a group text, so this entire text as a group. So whenever we actually hover on that group, the effect actually can show it here. That's how the Tailwind CSS work. So we're gonna write that group, and whenever we're gonna hover on the group and we want to make translate x 0, and also what we are actually want to see, we're gonna make a duration of 500. So now if you go here, as you see, that looks nice. And now here is the catchy thing why we want to make that overflow hidden. So it will not be available on say hover, it will only be available. And one more thing I want to do, I want to remove that background because we are not going to use it. And also, okay, justify later on we're gonna keep. So we have that effect. So now we need to create that midpoint, and for that midpoint we are actually accessing some raw data, and for that raw data we will just create it here on index.ts. First of all, let's go back to here. After the link we're gonna have a UL, and after the UL we're gonna have a button, right? Or I'm gonna just put a div just to make it looks better. So we're gonna make a justify between now, so it will just looks fine. So now first of all, in the nav link we're gonna have a title, then we're gonna have a link. So whenever we click, it will take us to that particular page, right? So this is a simple nav link we can create, and to actually go through and access that in the constant where we have that index.ts, I'm gonna just, because it's a default data, it's a const variable, so we can just pass from here. It will be nav list item, and we're gonna pass it inside an array, and then we're gonna pass the title, which will be home, and then we're gonna pass that ref, which will be just for home, it will be the default one. So I'm gonna just popping up my other value because it's just simple. So we have one home value, and then we have that home, we have features, and we have that services, join, and contact. So now we can access those things here. So how we want to access, let's see. So here in the UL, so the unordered list, I'm gonna pass that nav list item, and then we're gonna map through it. Now whenever we are mapping, we know actually what the thing is coming. We know there is a title is coming and there is href is coming, right? That's the things actually we are passing. So now we can access those things very simple and easily. So now what actually we want to render, we want to render one list variable, okay? And again, don't use that second bracket, use the first bracket one, because whenever you are giving a return, you need to use that, otherwise you cannot access anything from there. That's the first and most mistake I'm doing with that. So now here I'm gonna pass the title, and as we pass the title, you see the title is available here, but it's not in that good shape. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go in top, and in the unordered list I'm gonna make it by default it will be hidden for the responsiveness. Just create it at the same time, because if you just go back to our previous application, try to roll it up, it's fully responsive for the normal screen also. So it just you can make it as much responsive as you want. I'll just go through the normal behavior because my concern is to teach you how MongoDB work. So that's what I will follow through. So by default it will be hidden, and whenever we're gonna hide an empty screen, it will be inline flex. And then I'm gonna give a bg slats of just keep 950, the last portion, and px it will be 10. If we just keep that, I think we can see something. As you see, that looks fine. So now it's working. And the padding in y-axis, it will be a 2, and rounded it will be a full, and border it will be I think better to give a green 500. Okay, we didn't get the border because before initializing the border we need to pass that border variable, only then we can access the border. So we're giving the border 500, and background it's gonna be okay. Actually, okay, that's the background we have been given. And okay, yeah, okay, padding we give, border green we have been given. There is something portion which is the item center, it will be there, and also gap in x-axis I want to give it 10. Okay, so that's gapping portion is already available. And now padding py2 is not actually looks fine, so I'm gonna make it as 4. Okay, that looks cool. I think that will go along the way. And also for that I think for the text I'm gonna make it extra small, and also I'm gonna make it uppercase, and the text gray it will be 400. Okay, text gray 400. And okay, so the border actually, instead of passing on that way, I'm gonna pass it with that 1 pixel, so it will be in a very shuffling way. And also instead okay, I think okay, that looks good. And for that, make it font little bit a medium. Okay, accessing is good. And now what I want to do actually, okay, and border, instead of giving that green, because we can access our primary color, so we're gonna make it border primary color, and we can actually make the percentage on it. I'm gonna just give it for 40 percentage. As you see, that's the primary setup. And instead of border full, which is not looks nice, so rounded full, I'm gonna keep it as a rounded axle. So now it looks much more better. And now okay, that's we have been done. Now instead, because I want to make some listing on that list item, and for that purpose what I'm gonna do, instead of giving it in a list on that particular page, I'm gonna create that list item.tsx rafce. So now from here I can actually round up everything whatever we want to access for that portion. It's just showing you how you can create, how you can use the reusable component. So now in the list item we can access all the things. So go back to header. Instead of that, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use that list item, and of course there you need to pass another things which will be key, and that key we're gonna pass the title. If you not give the key in the production level, you cannot pass that, it will just hold you, the Vercel will not let you go out of that, so you need to be sure on that. And also we're gonna pass that title as the okay, we're gonna pass the title, and also we're gonna pass the href, which gonna be the href, the normal ref. So now how we can access the data in the list item. So in the list item, what I'm gonna do, instead of that div, I'm gonna pass a link value, and in the link value I'm gonna pass that list item, and here I'm gonna access those value whatever we are passing. We're gonna access the title and also href, and then I'm gonna pass the title, and in the href what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that href. So now actually we can access those. Like if we click, it will take me to another page. Maybe that page is not available because we didn't create that page, but that link portion is working. So just let's go and give some kind of styling on that list item. So now whenever we hover, the text it will be the primary color, and the cursor it will be pointer, and the duration it will be 200, just to looks a bit nicer. As you see, that's the similar and the same, I think. No, the similar is the same, so that looks fine. So now what about that error? What we gonna do actually with that? And to do with that, I'm gonna declare an interface, and which gonna run true for the props, and the title we know the title, it will be string, and also href, it's actually is string. So we have this both value, and we will just pass that props here. Error is gone, and now you can use that list item anywhere you want. That's the way you can create that reusable component where you can access anywhere, anytime. And now we will need another things, which it will be the button. So let's go back to down here. So here we can access the button, and that button, it will be calling as, it will be login. Let's see we can access or not. We have that login button. Now that button also you can make reusable, but feel free if you want to do it, but I'm just gonna go in a default value way. And that button also, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just pass with href with that. Oops, it will be not href, it will be in a link. Okay, and the href, it will be login. So now what's actually the class name? I want to pass it here. So the class name, it will be uppercase. The text, I want to make all the text uppercase, and the text, it will be extra small access, and the text grade 300 is by default, so no need to explain that part by part. And the font, it will be bold, and let's give a border, and also the padding in x-axis, it will be 4, padding in y-axis, I'm gonna give 2. Okay, looks nice. And rounded, oops, not the founded, it will be rounded, it will be full, and I'm gonna make a border. This time just try to use green, just to familiar with our previous version. I believe we used the green here. Okay, that's why we'll just try to use the green. So we will use that login, and also by default background, it will be transparent, and hover, the background, it will be a primary color, and hover text, it will be gray of 950. You can give the black color also. The cursor, it will be pointer, and the duration, it gonna be, oops, not 150, 200, the same duration. So now as you see, that looks pretty nice. So also the padding in x-axis, let's give it 6. Okay, that looks fine. So now we are actually almost done in a way. So now we need to create another 2 portion. So first of all, let's go back to our homepage portion, and I'm gonna remove close other things instead of that one. So after the header, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take another div, and in that div I'm gonna pass that our image, right? So I'm gonna take an image tag from the next image, and also we are having one image in the source, that dash image. Let's import that. So import dash image from at, and it will be images dash.png. So head back to source, it will be dash img, all tag, it will be dash img, and the class name, okay, I'll just keep that class name as normal. Let's see what we're getting. We're getting a very big image, and also I'm gonna make it as loading. Let's see, just load it in a simple way. So in the div, in the top level, I'm gonna give a class name with that. So it will be max width on 5 axle, max auto. Okay, you see the image is shrink already, and the padding in y-axis, I'm gonna give it 10, and flex call, and you're gonna see it why I give that one later on, item center. So now it's just taking the padding and other things. So that image, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep that image inside a div, and then I'm gonna just give a class name. I'm gonna make it as relative. Remember, we're having one spinner, we want to use that spinner, and to use that spinner we need to go and import some of the things. So let's go to npmjs.com, because we are going to use that React loader spinner. So this is the very simple things to use, and actually in a way I love that one to use that. So that's the one we are gonna to use. So you can see the icon, whatever you want, and just copy that, and it will just copy and import that. It will just work fine. So feel free, go to the documentation, and you're gonna learn a lot of things how to create and do. So to go whenever you want. So to import that, let's install it first. And after installing, because the icon the spinner I want to use, it will be that audio one, so which I'm gonna use that from that React loader spinner. And that one, to implement that one, okay, I think, okay, that's already imported. So after the image, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take another div, and inside that div I'm gonna pass that audio value, the spinner value, and I believe you will be able to see that spinner. And there is an issue because that spinner, because by default all the component in Nextjs is the server component. So whenever we are using any third party or any React hooks which is not defined the type and props in the server side, which is using the client side library, so for those kind of things we need to just declare that as use client. So if you just initialize that, it will be fine, the error will be gone. So as you see, our spinner is here, but we need to let it go in a proper direction. So first of all, give a class name absolute, and then top I'm gonna make it as a 10, and left I'm gonna make 14. Oops, not 1/4, it will be 14. And as you see, it's just here. So there is one more thing we need to do it. We need to implement that portion, and to do that, let's head back before that relative portion. So after the header, after the header we are taking one div, and inside that div I'm gonna create that. So inside the div, what I'm gonna create, I'm gonna initialize only the sum of the p tag, which is gonna get the ID, username, email. Remember, I already make it the flex column, so it will be in the middle. So on the div in the first level, what I'm gonna do, let's just give some class name, and bj it will be black, and padding it will be 6 rounded md, and then flex item center, and gap in x-axis it will be 10, or I'm gonna give it later just to show it why I'm gonna giving it. So that's the one portion. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, first of all I'm gonna take that inside one div, and then I'm gonna wrapping and gonna take another div where I'm gonna show you what it gonna be. So the ID, it will be the ID we're gonna receive from the backend, and also it will be that name. Oops, actually it will be the name. What's happening with my typing? Name, and then it will be the email. So that's the things we are going to actually cultivate from the backend. So for that purpose, I'm giving that as a flex item center, and let's see what it's getting. And also we need to give a gap to make it looks nicer, and the gap it will be in x-axis, it will be 10. So now you're gonna see the similar things but having a very good pattern on that, and it will be font medium, looks bit nicer. But the other additional info, actually what I'm gonna do, just adding some class name on that, class name flex column, and gap in y-axis it will be 3. Okay, looks nice. So in the last one also I'm gonna make it text wide and font bold, just to emphasize a bit. And also you can do one thing, you can make it underline if you want to just emphasize it more, as you see. But for this one I'm just not gonna go with that. So now our home page is initially done. Okay, so now home page is done. So now we need to create a login page. So let's go and create that. So as you see, once we click, it's giving a 404. So first of all, let's create a 404 page so that we cannot go in out of the site. And it's very simple to use to create. It will be just not found.tsx. Oops, not found. It will be not found. And be careful when you are typing that. It need to be actually that not found dash not dash found.tsx. Otherwise, it will not work. So it will be not found page. So as we save, that page is reflect here. So now in the not found page, what actually we gonna give them to see? First of all, it gonna get that header, okay, header, and also it gonna get a class name with it will be full and min height it will be screen. So that's we are getting. Now we need to pass a 404 message. If we go here, as you see, that's the message we need to implement, and so that we will create a component which will be not found banner dot tsx rafce. Oops. Okay, so after that one we will pass that not found. Okay, not found the page, it will be not found banner. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that's available here. So now what is gonna be in the not found banner? In the not found banner, we can wrap that in a components. Let's go create a component. It will be components, or not the components actually. We're gonna make it as a container.tsx rafce. So in the container, what actually we are going to pass, we're gonna pass a few separate things actually, and also we're gonna use that import clsx just if we want to not the import, so npm I clsx, just if you want to use that one. Is a very good handy utility library. It will be very handy if you are just going to use that. So import clsx, and then we're gonna pass that children, and what I'm gonna do in the meantime here, we're gonna wrap that children, we're gonna pass whatever the children as props, and in that div we're gonna give a class name, and that class name it will come with the clsx, and here we're gonna give that class name. So max width it will be screen axle, okay, and also mx it will be auto, so it will be in the middle, and okay, pretty much that's it. And for that we need to pass some of the props, and let's see, give it interface and the props. Now as you see, I create the list button, I create that container, I'm creating that not found banner. Every single thing is a reusable component. You can use it in your application, you can create more pages and then you can use. So that's up to you, but I'm just giving you the shortcut by which you can learn it to create a lot more. So children, and that children it will be react element. That can be react element, or it's supposed to be in that react element, because there will be can be multiple children, or it can be also be an array. And the class name, oops, it will be class name, which we know because we're gonna pass every other things as a string in the class name. So what we're gonna take through it, we're gonna take through the class name, we're gonna okay, oops, it will be, we're gonna take the class name, and also we're gonna take any props if we want to pass, and that we're gonna pass that with the validation of that props. So now we are passing that validation of that class name, and after over here you need to pass that class name so we can access those class names later on whenever we want. And then we can pass through the, I think the props, yes, the props is empty. Also we can pass the props. So now we can use that container anywhere we want to use as a reusable container. So now instead of the div, I want to pass that container. Now inside that container I'm gonna take a div. Inside that div I'm gonna take an h2 tag, which will give us that idea of that what we're gonna pass. So h2 tag, it will be your pages not found, or your pages, or just give it your page not found. And don't worry, as you see, it's taking the class name everything very good way. It's giving as a like the max width of a screen axle. So let's give a class name for that. It will be flex item, it will be center, justify center, padding y, it will be 10, and that's it. Just keep it as simple. And for the div, give a class name on that. I'm gonna make it as a relative, and max width it will be 2 pixel. Okay, and the mean height, I'm gonna give a mean height of 500 pixel just to make it looks better, and bj it will be not found. So as you see, that background is already available, but it's not looks nice the way it's supposed to be. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it object center or object cover, not the center, object cover, and background it will be, oops, it will be bj, it will be center. Okay, and one more things need to pass because we need to be bg no repeat, so it will be only a single background, it will not repeat. As you see, that's not repeating anymore. And now what I want to do, I'm gonna make it a flex, and flex column, everything it will be in column, item center, justify center, and gap in y-axis it will be 5. So that's the portion. So now we need to, as you see, everything is a center alignment. So in the h2 tag, let's give a class name, it will be text as a 4 pixel. Okay, then font it will be bold. Okay, so that looks nice because the background will be better whenever we are adding some more texts. It will be the similar on that. So, and also what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just wrapping those p tag, those are the things, it just giving a bit of class name, text base, font medium, text center, and you see the thing is available here. And after that, in the link, from that next link, we're gonna use a button. So creating the reusable button is your homework. You can create a reusable button where you can pass the title, the text, and then you can pass the href inside that text as also. So now it will always take us to the home. So that's our button. So let's go and give some class name for the button, and this just, you can give with the padding, but every time I'm going with the padding and margin, let's go with the width and height, and the rounded it will be full. As you see, you will not see anything right now. So the text it will be the base, and font it gonna be make as a semi, okay, semi bold, and I'm gonna make it as a text, oops, zinc of 200, zinc of 200, and whenever we hover the text zinc it will be 950. So the last part of that, let's give a border. Okay, and the border it will be green of 700, not the gray, because we want to make it green. And you're gonna see the border, as you see this border is available. And once you hover, this thing's actually working, but the background is not taking, because initially the background it will be transparent, and whenever we are hover bg it will be primary color, and the duration, let's just give 200. As you see, that looks nice. So let's go back to the home. So now it's time to create the login page. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close all the things, and creating the page in Nextjs application is very simple and very easy. How we gonna create? We just need to create an empty an folder in or directory in the app, not in the source, in the app directory. So let's create a folder, give a name of login, but first we're gonna create that registration. Okay, so registration, oh oops, it will be dot, okay, not any extension because it's just a folder. So it will be the registration, and then in the folder we can actually create that pages.tsx, which gonna give us that file. So it will be registration page. So now we are having our pages. So let's click in the login, and it gonna take us to the, okay, still okay, sorry, it will not be logging. So let's go back to the home. It will not be logging because logging we didn't create yet. So it will be registration. Okay, as you see, the registration page is available, and also we're gonna create the login page. and the similar way it will be login, and then it gonna be just popping up .tsx and rafce, so it will be login page. So that's the simplest way to create those things. Very simple and very straightforward. So first let's go to registration page and let's see how we can manipulate on that. Then we're gonna access to our login page. So in the registration, let's just give a class name on that, and width it will be full, and min height it will be screen, and bj it will be square background. If we click, as you see, looks nice, we're having it. So now to create that looks much more further, let's create one registration form. Registration from.tsx rafce. Okay, so that's the form we're gonna call up whenever we need something. So here, okay, registration form. And now for that form, what I want to do actually, for that form, we're gonna give some initial class name on that. So let's go here, and in the top level I'm gonna give a class name, which width it will be 450 pixel initial setup. So whenever it gonna hit in MD screen, it gonna give a 500 pixel, just be in a safe zone. And MX auto and BJ it will be black, so I believe you can see that one right now. Okay, you see it's in the top, so I want to keep it in the actually in the middle. So how we can do that? And to do that, it's here after the background. We're gonna make flex item center, justify center, and that's it. By default I want all the text it will be small, whatever written here. As you see, that's the registration form. So let's go back inside the form. So let's see how we can actually give it here. So I'm gonna give a padding in x-axis 10, padding in y-axis it will be 16, just to look bit clean. Looks nice. Okay, so after that, what do you want to give? We're gonna give a rounded MD, and I'm gonna make it a flex. Oops, flex in a column portion, and gap in y-axis it will be 6. You know the gapping and padding. If you have any confusion with any of the class name, feel free to head back to the tailwind.css and then just put the central key or the command key, and then pass whatever the class name you want to learn. There is a solution to go over there. They have lots of variation and you can find it there. And the border it will be 1 pixel, and the border it will be primary color, and I'm gonna give it 30% of it. So that's all to go with that initial setup. Oops. Okay, so now we need to create the from and other things. So first of all, inside that div I'm gonna take one more div, and in that div I'm gonna take a p tag which will be a sign up form. So that's the tag. And here what I'm gonna do, taking a class name. Okay, oops, text it will be 3xl, font it will be semi bold, and text it will be white. Okay, and now for the other p tag, because I'm gonna take another p tag which gonna be create your account. That's the normal p tag, it will be available. Just I'm gonna give a margin top up 2. Okay, that looks nice. And also we're gonna create a loading state here. So I'm gonna show you what actually it will be available, but right now we are not keeping that loading state, or actually we can keep it later. We can demotivate that one just to show you what's going to happen. Because once we click in that sign in page, if you go to login, once we click, like every single thing is there. Once we click, you see the loader is happening. So that's the loader we need to implement. So to do that, after that div, because that's the div we are keeping that, so here we can just pass that loading portion, and that loading thing, it will be that one. And also we need to import that one. Let's import it, that 3 dots. Okay, 3 dots imported. So if we just click the save, and again, whenever we are going to access any of the third party or the UG-state hook, we need to make that as use client, otherwise the server will start crying. As you see, the loading is working, and that one we can make it here. We're gonna pass the class name, and that class name will be responsible to make it flex item center justify between. And as you see, for right now, let it be in that way. Later on also, you're gonna create the things, we're gonna make it in a good way. So that's the div we are passing, and after that div we're gonna pass another div, and inside here we're gonna pass our input, we're gonna pass our all the from validation and everything. So we're gonna have a 3 input, and to generate the input, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take a input.tsx, one input file. So from that one single input file, we're gonna create all the input formation. Okay, so let's go, and okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so now in the input here, what's actually we want to put, we're gonna give a div, and inside that div we're gonna pass a label. So that label, I'm not gonna pass whatever the HTML4 or something, I'm gonna pass that the label we are receiving. So what actually we're gonna receive, we're gonna receive a couple of things. We're gonna receive a label, we're gonna receive the placeholder text, so whatever the text we're gonna receive, we're gonna receive that input type, also the value, and then on change function. So that's the 5 things we're gonna receive here. So once we are having the label, we're gonna pass that label as the value, and after that label we're gonna get that input, and that type, that input type, it will be not that direct input, it will be input type. And then also we can also pass that type as an input type, and the placeholder text, it will be that placeholder text. Actually, if we just initially, I'm not gonna render it here. First, I'm gonna show you why I'm giving in that way. So let's go to the registration page, and let's give it a div, and inside that div I'm gonna pass a label. So that label, it will be for first one. Let's see, first one, what is that one? First one is for the, let's go to sign up, it's for the full name. So let's head back and give it as full name. So that's one of the label we are created. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go and give some class name for that label, and it will be text, it will be sm, small text, and mb, it will be 1. Okay, so let's see. That looks fine. Okay, so after that label, I'm gonna pass one input, and that input, it will be, by default it will be text, and the placeholder, it will be, what's the placeholder we are actually passing. I think we just need to give that a value. That one, it will be example, like the name formation, and also we can, the value for right now we're not keeping it, so that's the text value over here. And for the class name, we're gonna make flex flex column, and gap in y-axis, it will be 4. Okay, so now for that inputs value, for the input also we're gonna give some class name. So let's give some class name. So first of all, I'm gonna make all the outline, it will be outline none, and then bj, it will be transparent, and you're gonna see the background bj is gone. And now we need to give some other class name of that. So the it will be border b, it gonna give you 1 pixel, and border b gray of 500. Placeholder text, it will be extra small, and then placeholder text, I'm gonna just make a zinc of 400, and whatever the text we're gonna return, it will be white, and the tracking, it will be white. So now as you see, our input is okay, so that is looking fine. So now if I just go and give through all the variables, it looks congested. So instead of writing everything here, if we just pass one input component and everything we're gonna pass as variable, it's gonna look pretty fine and in a very compact way. So what I'm gonna do, in the input field, I'm gonna just copy that portion. I'll just cut it from here, and I'm gonna pass it here. And also the class name for the label, I'm gonna take it from here. Just let's give that label. Oops. Okay. Okay. And for the input also, I'm gonna cut it, and then I'm gonna pass it. And now here, for right now, I'm just pass any just to go out of the error. Okay, so our input value is okay. Now we will be able to access that one here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove that div, or I'm gonna keep the parent div. Okay, I'm gonna remove that div, and now I can access that input. So in the input, what I want to give, I want to give that label. Now if I just try, nothing is there, only the default color pattern is there. So now in the label, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass that full name. Okay, passing the full name is available. So now I need to pass a placeholder text. So the placeholder text, okay, holder, it will be like John Doe. As you see, that's appearing. So now also we can pass the input type. Okay, input type, it will be email. Okay, so now the value and other things we can actually popping through up. So what we can do, we can pass through it that, because we need two things, I think three. So one will be the full name, another it will be the email, and the email it will be like gmail.com and email.com, and that one it will be email. First one it will be the text, and then we're gonna have that password, and that password value we're gonna be okay, that's the password value. And if we save, as you see, we are actually getting that tree. That's the similar way we are getting it. Okay, that looks nice. And also we can do some more things, like if we want to make in padding in y-axis, we can give you 1. Okay, okay, that looks good. So now what we can actually do also, we can make it as class name flex in column, and gap in y, it will be 4. Okay, now it looks better, little bit better. Okay, and actually I believe that padding portion not required. Okay, that looks good. And now we need to have one button, and then we need to have that text. So that button, okay, after the registration form, after that input field, after that div, we're gonna have a button, button, which gonna give us that create an account. But there is a type of button is available. As you see, by default is fill the fields, and then once you are filling that fields, is coming with that create an account. So that's the instances we're gonna create, of course. But first of all, we're gonna have 2 instances. So let's create in which instances what it gonna be. So first of all, let's go and create that user. Okay, so it will be const user, and then it gonna be set user, and it gonna coming up from that use state. And here we're gonna declare all the state instead with a single variable and the single object. So the username, first it will be username, which will be empty, and then it will be email, which also will be empty, and then it will be password, which also will be empty. And also we need to pass two more thing, which gonna be like one, it will be the button disabled, and then it will be the set button disabled, and by default it will be true. And then we're gonna create that loading and set loading instances. So first of all, let's go and create that two things to passing that value. So now first one value, it will be that value of the username. Okay, user, I believe not the username, because it will be user.username. And also we're gonna pass that on change event. So in that event, what actually we want to declare. Okay, so you're gonna declare a function which gonna take an event, and that event gonna be set user. Okay, and it gonna set user. Let's see. Okay, user, it's gonna take everything from the user, then it's gonna update the username, and it's gonna be target.value. So that's the one we are actually giving. Okay, I think we are having some issue with that okay, I think maybe made a mistake. Let's see. So it's on change event. Okay, implicitly has any value. Okay, that's cool. We can actually set user. Actually we are passing that username. Okay, actually we can pass the parameter for that to go with that. So we're gonna make it which gonna be a mouse event, and then it will be HTML, I think button element maybe. Yeah, HTML button element. So in that way it's supposed not to become here, because e.target.value we are giving, so it's supposed not to create that instances. Okay, okay, let's just go at the debugging. Or actually I know from where this error is coming, because remember we are passing any value in the input. So actually we can remove that error from here. So now instead of any value, we can actually pass the actual value, and what the value it will be. So let's just give that interface as props. Actually I forgot about to write in that written that one. I passed the any, it should not be any. So label, it gonna be string, we know that. And then the place, okay, placeholder, it will be also a string. And that input, I think input type, yes, it will be a string. And the value, it also gonna be string. And all now here is the having the problem. So the on change, it gonna pass that event, and that event it gonna be a change event. We need to import it from the React, don't forget to import it. So the change event, and then HTML, it will be input element, not that other one. So in that way we can read off the problems from there. So that is the value we are passing, and also we need to give it as void. So just go with the exceptions. So now in the input, what we are going to do initially, we're gonna pass the react.fc, the functional component a procedure, and then we're gonna pass that props. So that's the singular setup. So now we are passing everything here. So we need to, now we also need to give a two other variable. So we need to pass the value. The value, it will be the value, whatever the value we are passing as the props. And on change, it will be on change. Okay, the on change functions we are going to given. Okay, not the on change, it will be on change function. Okay, so now here it looks nice. Okay, so as you see, when I did, the error is just have been gone. So now let's give a value on here. It will be the user dot email, and also I think the on change we need to give that, and it will be coming up what of that is that it's gonna make that set user, and on that set user it's gonna take all the things is coming from the user, then it's gonna make the password value, and also for the password input type it will be password, and you need to keep the type, because if you keep the type as email, so like whenever you are writing something it will not be here, it encrypted but it will not be encrypted. To keep that encrypted portion you need to type that input type as password. As you see now, you type it just giving us encrypted issue. And now also we need to pass the value, which will be the value of that user dot password. And now also we need to write the on change event, okay, and that one it's gonna be set user, and inside the set user, oops, take everything from the user, then the password, oops, password he dot target dot value. So now we are done with that input things. It's time to go with the button. So for the button we're gonna render two button. So whenever we're gonna have that button disabled is available, it's gonna give one button, and then it's gonna give another button. So first one, whenever is enabled, it will give us that fill the fields, or you can pass any of the type. First one it will be fill the fields because it's now actually is in disabled. We make it true, so we need to make it set it as a disabled whenever we are passing the data, like fulfill the requirement. So first of all, also we're gonna make it on click event, so it will be E, and by default what it gonna do, prevent default, just to be in a safe zone. So whenever, even we're gonna make it unclickable, but it's better to make it in a safe zone. So the class name it's gonna be just give it a basic of zinc, okay, zinc, and that zinc it will be 900, and with full padding in y-axis it will be 2, and the text it will be a primary color but 60% of opacity, and okay, cursor it will be, oops, it's my bad, cursor again, okay, it will be not allowed. And also we need to pass that it's gonna be rounded MD, margin top of 2, and also you're gonna make a duration of 200. Let's save it, and as you see actually we cannot access, and the click also it will not work. And for the other one it's gonna go with all the things for that. So the class name it will be the similar pattern with full and padding in Y it will be 2, rounded MD empty it will be 2, border it gonna give us I think 1 pixel, okay, and we gonna give as a VG jing of, okay, zinc of 500, oops, it will be 500, or actually not 5, it will be 950, the dark text it will be the primary color, and border it will be a primary color, and hover text zinc it will be 800 whenever we're going to hover, and duration just give 2 or any way you like. And as you see, if we just make it as false, we can see that button is working. Okay, whenever we are hovering, the text it should not be that text, because okay, once you hover the text, okay, see, let's see, okay, text is not changing, so we need to remove that. So whenever we are hovering, okay, okay, hover, it will not be the text, it will be background actually, not the text. Okay, now looks good. Okay, so what we will do, we'll make it as true. So now we're gonna create one use effects hook, and that will be responsible to create the other things. And also you're gonna create an on-click event, so it will be just give the name of that handle registration, maybe registration. And also we're gonna declare that one in the top, registration, which you're gonna take an event tag, because why I want that event, if I remove that now, if I make it as a false, and you see once I click, sometimes it's giving a reload effect. Now it's not giving, but sometimes it's giving. So that's why we're gonna keep it as event handler to just prevent that one. And that event, it will be from that react dot, it will be a mouse event, and that it will be HTML button element. Okay, so now we can access that event, and we can make any default behavior should be disappeared. Okay, so now we are having that portion. So also in the top level, we're gonna create one use effect hook just to give that, or below that also we can create whenever you want use effects. And what it gonna do, we're gonna pass a simple confirmation. Once all the field is available, that button should be disable, should be false. Okay, so now if user dot email and dot length is bigger than 0, and user dot, okay, should be the first one will be username, okay, also bigger than 0, and okay, it should be dot length, and then also user dot password is dot length is bigger than 0. Only then it gonna fire up. So what it gonna fire up, it gonna make it a set button disabled as false, and otherwise it gonna make it as, by default it gonna be true, and otherwise also it gonna be make it as true just to get the fallback. And whenever the username is changing, it gonna be shuffled through. So now if we just type something, okay, email we cannot access, what we did wrong with the email. So in the email input type email, value is that email. Okay, I believe we maybe did something wrong. Just hit a refresh, let's see. Okay, we can able to be look at the password. So okay, that's the where we make mistake, so it will be email. That's a silly mistake, but you see the way it's just giving the error. As you see, now we can actually make the clickable event. So we are already closer, because now I think we need to implement a lots of things. So first of all, let's go and create the connection of that MongoDB. And to go back to connect with that MongoDB, we need to implement that Mongoose. So I will go with npm I mongoose. So it's gonna install the MongoDB. So you can just go here in that npm, type mongoose, because we're gonna create the model and everything using the mongoose, and it's very easy to implement with the mongoose instead of MongoDB directly. And you see that's a 2 million weekly downloads. It's a very good popularity over here. So now we are accessing, we already have that database. So now we need to create the connection with our database. And how we can do that? First of all, we will go in a Nextjs way, because we are using that app router. So we'll create one source folder, and here I'm gonna create that dbconfig. It's actually the familiar name most people using as a dbconfig. You can put it anyone you like, dbconfig.ts. Everything will be in the TypeScript. And now here we're gonna import mongoose from mongoose. So now we're gonna export const connect function, and that function, it will be available to give us a connection with MongoDB as we are going to access with our database, because our database is not in our local machine. It's MongoDB is just server is somewhere else, not in our own place. So we need to go with that async and await. So we will wait until we are getting the connection. Otherwise it will give us error, or it will just come up without along the data. And here we're gonna make a try catch functionality. And first of all, let's go and get the catch one. So in the catch, we're gonna put a console log, and that will be the terrible error message, which will be something went wrong. And here also we're gonna try to see that error, what the error we are having. And in the try block, so we're gonna get that mongoose.connect, and there, remember, we are giving one value over here as a Mongo URI. So now it will be handy. Now we can access that value. So now Mongo connects, and here we can access that process.env.mongodb URI. So now it's freaking out. Either it's gonna find the URI or not. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say it, the URI will be available there. So now I'm gonna put that connection in a variable connection, and that connection, it will be from that mongoose.connection. So now I can use that connection wherever I want. So first of all, let's make that connection .on, and that one gonna give a variable. And first of all, I'm gonna make it as a message of connected, and here I'm gonna pass a function, and that function gonna be give us a log where we can write that, oops, it will be MongoDB connected successfully. So the MongoDB is connected, and after we also can get the fallback if we are having any error. So connection dot, and that we can go through the on. Feel free to go to and see in the Mongoose documentation, everything is there. I'm just gonna fetching it from there, so you can find it here easily. So if any error is available, we can actually catch that error, and then we can also view or pass that error. So just make that log, and inside the log, MongoDB connection error, please make sure MongoDB is running, and after that we will also view the error. Okay, so after happening that, we also want to remove the process whenever the everything is done. So it will be process.exit. So we're gonna exit that process after everything is compiled. So this the things, so that's the things which gonna give us the connection with our MongoDB database, which we are having here, because we are using that one, that you need to have that string, that compass string, and from here, instead of that password and braces, you need to keep your actual password, and that it will just start working for you. So now we are having in the sign in form. So now what we need to do, we need to create also the API routes, right? Because we cannot directly talk to the sign in portion. And to do that, first of all, let's go to our okay, what I'm gonna do, in the app, we're gonna take a folder which the name it will be API, and inside that API I'm gonna take another folder where I want to keep all my users, and here I'm gonna take another folder where it's gonna be registration, and inside that folder I'm gonna take a file called route.tsx or route.ts. So that route.ts will be responsible to create all the routing setup and other formalities. Okay, so first of all, let's go how we can actually send the data and if we can access the data or not. So first we can make that connect, or we will import the connect later on. first what we're gonna do, we're gonna see how actually these things work. So what I'm gonna do, export const, we're gonna write a post method. Okay, so whenever you are writing any of the method, always you need to, it's better way, it's the actual way to go with that async option. So it will be a request, and that request we need to import from that next request. So don't forget to implement that. And also we need another one which gonna be next response. Both are coming from the next server. So now here, what actually we can do, we can actually use that try catch block. So again, we will just catch the error and then we're gonna pass the error. So if we have error and we don't know what kind of error it will be, so we can pass any error, and then whenever we are having that error, we're gonna pass a next response, and that response we need to, so whenever you are passing anything from the API, you need to make it in a JSON format. Whenever you are just giving anything, throwing anything to API, then you need to pass that as a stringify method. So if you get, make it JSON. If you give it just a stringify. That's the simple procedure. So that here we will pass that error as the error.message, and also we can pass the status here. Oops, status, and as a server error, it's gonna be just go with that 500. So let's first go to get the simple interaction with that. So let's request body, whatever we are receiving. So we will await, and that we're gonna await for await.json. So let's see whatever the things is coming from the backend. So also make a log here, and then we're gonna see that request.body, whatever we are receiving. And one more things you need to remember, whenever you are accessing that, you also need to pass a response, otherwise it will throw us an error. So you need to pass a return response, so it will be next response, and that one it will be as a JSON response. So I'm gonna pass an object, and that object will contain a message. That message, it will be like connection is just a simple message, active, and also we need to pass that success is success or not. So it will be success as true. We need to pass in comma here. So now our API is here. We can throw a post message. Still is not connected with MongoDB or any other instances, but we can access that post request. Okay, so how we can access that post? So let's go to our API, not the API, the registration form. Here in the registration form, we can actually access that. We make it as a prevent default. So we will make a try catch. And first of all, again, we need to throw that message. So I will also get another utility library, which gonna be that React Toastify, because I'm gonna use that React Toastify to show all the error messages. And you just need to copy that, install it. And after installing, you need to do also one more thing. You need to, I believe that CSS, yes, you need to copy that too, and I'm gonna keep it inside my layout over here. Okay, so now the Toastify we can access, and also to access the Toastify, you need to import their toast container, and that toast container, you can keep it anywhere in your application, in the bottom or somewhere. And don't forget to import that toaster and toast container and Toastify from the React Toastify. So now we can access. So now in the try and catch block, first we're gonna show the error. Okay, so let's see. And what kind of error we don't know, we don't have any idea. So first of all, we're gonna pass that toast.error, and we're gonna pass that as error dot let's just pass, okay, not any other. We will just make it as a simple error, which gonna be because we are trying to make the sign up, so it will be a sign up failed, just a normal error. And after also passing everything, like the sign up failed the error, and if everything is going okay, so then we're gonna use that finally. And finally what it gonna do, it gonna just make that set loading false, so the loading it will not be there. So now we can access the loading, we no need to implement that loading like that way. So here we gonna use that, so it will be loading and so whenever is loading available, you're gonna see that 3 dot. It's now very clean. So now we can access with that. So first of all, we will make that set loading as true. So whenever we are accessing that data instances, set loading it will be true. Now let's go to passive response, and that response it gonna be await response, because our function is we still not yet as async, so we need to make it as async function. So now we can access that await. Okay, set loading, so we need the await, and we're gonna fetch the data. And where we're gonna fetch, we will fetch from that the functionality. Remember, we're gonna fetch for like our root directory is now with that localhost 3000, that's the 3000. And here then we will go through our API. Then in the API we have users folder, we'll go to the users, then we will access that route which is registration. So be careful once you're typing the name. I'm making a lot of mistakes to just keeping that name in a good way. So it will be that folder name, okay, that registration. So registration. And once we are getting through here, we need to declare what we want to pass. Okay, so we need to access a method. The method name is post, and also we need to define the headers, and the headers it gonna defines what kind of content we want to pass. It will be a content, it will be type, content type, and in the clone we need to pass the type. It will be application and it will be JSON. So that's the content we want to access. And now what we want to give inside the body. So let's go and see what we can give. And remember, whenever you are giving anything, you need to make it JSON.stringify. Okay, whenever you're accessing it, make it as JSON. So in here we're gonna pass the username, and that username it will be user.username. Okay, then we're gonna give an email. It will be email, and that one user.email, and then we're gonna give a password, and that one user.password. So that's the things we can access, or we are going to access. Now also we want to access a couple of more things. So after we are passing everything, we need to access the data what we are giving. Okay, and we will await for the response dot JSON. So whatever the data is coming with the JSON, we're gonna wait to just get it. So, and also we're gonna make it console.log, and we're gonna see what kind of data we are receiving. So with that we can actually hit with our route, which is actually the API endpoint for that registration. So let's just open our console, because we're gonna go and see in a real time. Okay, okay, so now let's just put a name. I'll just put my name at, and by the way, there is no way you can keep it as a like empty, because you know, until you keep it empty you cannot access. So let's hit the save, and as you see, we're getting a connection is active. We get the success message, and also if we see here, we're accessing that data. We're getting the username, we're getting the email, we're getting the password. So our connection is okay. So now we can actually talk to the database. Okay, and how we can talk to the database? Remember, we have a connection, so we need to use that connection. So let's go to the route. So here in the route, Okay, we don't need that. Okay, that's the route. So here in the routes we need to import the connection. Import connection. Okay, and that connection, why it's not did I export that one? Oh, actually we export as connect, not the connection. So it will be connect. Okay, we need to import from the dbconfig and the dbconfig. And now we can just simply pass that connect, so our database is connected. But first of all, we need to use the model by the way how we can actually show what kind of things it will be there in our user, what kind of things it will be accessing. So for that, I'm gonna just get a folder which will be models, or you can, okay, just give it up models. And in the models, we're gonna pass that user, model.ts. So now we need to pass what the user is gonna be there. So I'm gonna import, and what I'm gonna import a schema from the mongoose, and also I'm gonna import the model and also the models. These three things I'm gonna import from there. So now I'm gonna get that user schema, and very easy to use the new schema as the new schema, and inside this schema I will pass all the things as an object. So I'll get a username. So what kind of things it will be the username? The type, it will be string type. Okay, and now is it require? Yes, the require it will be require. So now require, it will be true, and also it gonna give through a message, please provide. So now this message, actually you can go through it, or you can manage through from the backend and frontend. I will just pass through that. If you want to use, you can use, and if I am going to use also, I'm going to show you how you can use that. So the unique, actually the username, for right now I'm not gonna give it unique, or you can keep it unique also, because we are not accessing any other things. Unique, it will be true. In the similar way, what we want to pass, we're gonna get the email, and that email also gonna get three things. So it will be the type, actually we're gonna get three more. Then one, it will be email. It will be email. Another one, it will be password. Type, it will be string, true, please provide an email. And unique, it will be true. And password, it will be string, unique not necessary, so please provide a password. Okay, and also another value it will be there is admin. So if the admin is available, how it will be, so it will be the boolean value, true or false, and by default it will be false. So that's our user schema. We have username, and we are giving what kind of type and what the requirement, and if it's unique or not. Similar way, email type required and unique, password type and required. We are not going to give the password as unique, and is admin, by default we want to make it false. And now we will create the user, so it will be capital letter. Remember, it need to be capital letter. So it will access the models.user, or if we are giving any default behavior, if we create any model, we can also access from there. So it will access from there, and then it gonna get that user schema. And now we can export default one, which will be user. Or you can just make export default context user in a single line. I'll just elaborate a little bit. So now we are having that models. So now we can pass that models and then access that route with all the requirement. So let's go back to the route, and we know what we are getting in the route, right? We are getting one username, one password, and one email. So we're gonna destructure that one, and in the destructuring we're gonna pass that username. It will be username and email, password, and from where we're destructuring that one, we will await. Again, don't just directly make request body, because some people are thinking we're giving an await when we're getting the request body data, but there can be a gap of milliseconds when acquiring. So always prefer as put await whenever you are accessing any data. Okay, that's a very safe way. So first of all, we need to actually check if we have user or not. And how we can check? Const user. Remember, we have one user module, so we will await for that, await, and we need to await for user, and don't forget to import that one from that model's user model. And that user has access to all the things whatever you are keeping in the database, and we'll use one method which is find one, and it gonna find with that email. So it's gonna go through and find if we have the user. So in that way, if it's find one, means we have a user. So now what it gonna have? If we have the user, what we want to pass? We want to pass a next response. So that response, again, we need to make it in a JSON format, and that one we're gonna give an error which will be the user already exists. Okay, that's the simple message. And also we need to pass the status code, and that status, it will be 400, the bad request, because user is available, the request is not handy. And also there will be another one. You cannot just give any kind of string, you need to give a valid email. Okay, so now we need to pass that validation of email, and here we are giving that checking if exist. So now we need to validate the email. So now here we need to make that email validation, and that validation, it will be a function, because we will pass the regex to create the validation. So, and in here we're gonna return a string, and inside that string we're gonna pass the email we are getting from the front end, from the user. And that email, what we're gonna make? We're gonna make it as a lowercase to lowercase, and after that we're gonna match through it, and with what we are matching. Now you may find so many regex value. You just go in the internet, search regex regex value, you can find a lot, but I will just use that simple one. That's the simple, and it will save the purpose for me. So if that one will be just accessing our email, and it will just check if all the character value is available, if it's an actual email or not. So now what it's gonna do, if the validation, okay, if the email validation is wrong, like the email is not validated, also it's gonna return a next response. And what the response it will be, let's put it inside the JSON, and that one, it will be again another error. So it will be saying that email is not valid. Okay, and also that one, again we can pass another status code, and that one also the 400, the bad request, because you need to have a good email to access that. So now we're gonna hash the password. Before hashing the password, I'm gonna just show you why you need to hash the password. Okay, so here it will be like encrypting the password, so we're gonna adopt later on. So now we will create another value. It will be like updated user, because we are updating the user, we are updating we are keeping the validation and everything. So we need to just give that, or you can put the updating user, or you can give any name of that. It's better to give that new user. Most of the people adopting that one, so that one it will be new, then it gonna access the user. And here we're gonna give whatever we want to pass. We want to give the username, we want to give that email, and we want to give the password. So that's the new user we are creating. So now that new user actually we can send to the MongoDB, and to sending it is very simple. So now it will be just saved user just put inside a variable to I can see it later on, and it will be new user, the one we create. We'll just save that user, so that will be responsible to send that user back. So now in the response we can also pass that saved user so that we can see. Okay, so if everything is working pretty much smooth and fine, we will be able to hit a user to our database. So that is our database. Right now we don't have anything, so let's just give a hot reload and let's see. So first, okay, come 1 2 3 4 5 6, let's create. Okay, it's still loading. I think it's okay, it's created. Because it didn't create the redirection, it's not happening on that. So connection is active. As you see, we are having a saved user data. Let's go back to MongoDB, browse our collection, and let's see. Okay, we can see the user and we are having that user data. So we are successfully created an user. So now here, as you see, if some way you lost the password or something, your database is hacked, anyone can access that password. It's very easy. That's why we need to encrypt the password, and how we can do it, I'm gonna show you anyway. So first of all, let's go back here. As you see, MongoDB connected, everything is working very smooth. So one thing we need to do it is encrypting the password, and to do that we will just go to Bcrypt.js, and as you see, it's 7 years ago, just last modified, but it's very usable library. So let's implement that, and here I will import Bcrypt.js, or I will just name as a Bcrypt.js. And of course, once you hover through, as you see, because it's not modifying after a long time, so we just need to give the type definition for that itself. It's not there. So now we are having a password, okay, and that password we will just encrypt. So how we can encrypt? As you see, we need to pass the salt gen or some other things. As you see, we can pass the salt to hash the password, and then again with the bacon, there is a lot of things. To save my purpose, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just use a salt, and that salt, it will be, again, don't forget to put a weight, and it will be from Bcrypt. And whenever I'm gonna access the Bcrypt, now I can access their other formalities. So it will be the gen salt, and I'm gonna access that salt of 10 is okay, 12 you can access whatever you want, but 10 is enough for me. So now const encrypted password, and that it will be await again, and bcrypt dot hash. So now here it's gonna hash our password. So we're gonna give the password value, and then we're gonna give the salt value, which is by default is 10. So now in the password, instead of that normal password, we're gonna pass that encrypted password. And that's all. So now our password will be encrypted. So let's try. Also, we will try all the error, if we are having error or not. So just I'm gonna pass that John Doe. John, just keep it like that. Let's see if it's giving error or not. Okay, let's try. Okay, email is not valid. So we are having the error, but we are not showing it. So let's go back to the registration. As you see, console log that data. Okay. So okay, so now actually we can access the error, and we can show all the error in a very good way. So that's the data we are accessing. So I'm gonna remove. Okay, let's keep the console. So now if response dot okay, if the response is okay, then what we can do, we can actually, remember we are having that router. So did we use the router? No, we didn't access it. So we're gonna make that const router. It will be use router, I believe. Yes, not user, it will be use router. And always try, don't forget to pass that as it's coming from the next navigation, not from the next router. So now what we're gonna do, whenever the user is created, we want to push that to our login. It will just push to the login router. And if it's not okay, then what it gonna do, so it gonna get a toast.error. So that error, it gonna pass that data.error message. And now that data also, if there is an error, we're gonna receive that data. If there is any other things, we're gonna receive in that way. So now, okay, so let's, I believe we didn't create any data because it was an error over there. Okay, we didn't create, so let's go now, try again. Oops. Now also for the password, you can give the length, how many length it can be, minimum length, min length, max length, and the character the way you want. You can elaborate the similar way, the similar pattern you can just need to follow through. After the encrypting password, you can just giving the characteristic of password. You can just come part to part, it will work just fine. Let's try to create an account. As you see, email is not valid, we are not able to create. So let's give a valid email. Gmail, oops, it will be gmail.com. Let's try, and user is created. And as you see, we are now in the login page. So we are again created another user. As you may see very soon, as you see, we created our user. So now user is created. It's time to create the login portion. And let's go back to the login page. So we will create the login page, whatever the things we need to be do here. So first of all, what I'm gonna do, let's create a login from .tsx. It will be logging from, and we can actually use almost all of the things from there. So I am gonna just get whatever the things we are needing from there. First of all, actually pretty much everything we gonna get from there. Okay, let's see, let's go back to the login. We didn't create the last page. Okay, so I think I missed to create that one. It will be one text is available for that. So let's go to implement that. Okay, in the registration form, after that button is done, we will use a p tag, which gonna, okay, we need to also import the link from the next link. Okay, so now that button will be saying that don't have an account, then it will give us to go through the login. That's it. Okay, also from here we can go to the login page. So now for the login, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna access everything from here. Okay, I'm gonna access all from that registration, because it will be the similar way of that. And also I'm gonna access other portion, which it gonna be those portion, because the disable router name, everything, it will be there. And I'm gonna use it as use client. Okay, import. Use it set import, and that one also imports input. Oops, it's not from that, it's gonna be from the input. Don't forget to import, because I'm importing, is everything is popping up there, and we no need to use that full name. Okay, and it will be handle login. So we will create one function here, which gonna give us handle login, so that we can create that. And remember one more thing, which is giving us that authentication, that use effect hook. Also we're gonna add it here, and we need to import that use effects. Okay, other 3 error which we have, we need to import that link, and also we need to import that. Okay, it's not giving us the pop-up, so let's import from here and paste it here. So that's pretty much all, I believe. Okay, so here what it's gonna have, instead of don't have an account, what I will pass, okay, here it will be what we passed. Okay, it will be have an account. So whenever having an account, have an account, just go back to login. If don't have an account, then we're gonna come up with that. So it's just hit the save. Let's see, use router is not imported, so again it will be from that next navigation, not from the next router. Okay, so now here we are having everything, but we are missing something of that, which is why we need to implement some of the portion, and that is some of the class name. Remember, we are giving some class name here in that I believe in registration page. That's the class name we need to copy. Okay, so just copy that and paste it here, and as you see, sign up from, which will not be the sign up from, so I will close the others. It's gonna be our login from, and let's see what's the name we have been given. Actually, welcome to clicks, so it will be that welcome to clicks, and also we're gonna get that login to your account. So yeah, welcome to clicks, login to your account. We're getting email, we're getting the password and the fields, everything. Don't have an account, we need to pass another one, not in the login. It will be registration, and it will be sign up. Don't have an account, sign up. So it will take us forth. So now everything looks okay. So what we need to do, we need to implement that portion. Okay, so the login form, also there is 2 button is available. Remember, sign in with Google and GitHub. Of course, we are not gonna implement that 2 auth. We're gonna implement in that in next video. So if you are liking that video, watching it, if you are feeling good with that video, if you like, then watch it. And the next portion, I'm gonna use that OAuth authentication, then we're gonna actually deploy it to Vercel to access it in live portion. Okay, so these 2 can hold. So now we need to actually go through to create that functionality. So what we gonna do in that here, first, okay, let's start to create. So first one, we will just make a simple solution for that. Remember, we already typed that, so no need to just go through over and over with that. So I'm gonna just do that, and in here I'm gonna make a dot prevent default, so the default will be prevented. So now in here, in the user, we need to create another folder, and here we will give it as a, oops, it will be login, and again we need to pass that, and oops, it will not be the Nextjs, it will be router dot, okay, it will be route.ts. Okay, so now here in that route.ts, for that implementation, we need to import so many things. So first it will be that, oops, next request and then next response. That 2 things we need to import. Then also import bcrypt from bcrypt.js, and also we need to import, oops, it will be connect, and that connect gonna come from our DB. So now what we gonna declare here, so export const, again there will be a post method, and that post method it gonna be always async if we are going to access in the API level. Okay, so now here we will use that, oops, it will be try catch. And in the try catch, first of all, we don't know what kind of error we will get, so it will be any. And now we will return, and it will be next response dot JSON. And in the object we will pass an error message, so it will be error dot message. And again we need to give it as status, and I love to use that as a status of 500 because it's the server error. So now we need to access that in the try value. So don't forget to remove all the console.log whenever we are giving it in the front in the API level. Whenever you're going to the production level, remove it. Okay, that's the good practice. Oops, it will be const reg body, and that requested body it gonna access that. We will await, and we will await for the response, which I didn't pass it here. Response, it will be I think not the response, we will get the request. It will be the next request, so we will wait for the request, and that request we're gonna make it as JSON. So we're gonna make it a log, and let's just pass that in a requested body. And also we need to return something which gonna be a response, of course, and that one it will be next response dot JSON. And here we're gonna pass a simple message. Message, it will be user created successfully, and here success, it will be true. Oops, it will be double C. Okay, so now let's go back through and let's see if we can actually talk to the database or not, sorry, to the API or not. And this actually save practice to just check before you are trying in a further level. So again, I'm gonna go with the try catch variable, and that try catch, the catch what it gonna be. So before passing that catch value, that's the catching value from the server, so I'm gonna pass it in any value. And now I'm gonna also make that toast.error, and that it will give us logging failed. That's just simple error. And also we'll make it as the finally it will be set loading, which gonna be false, the similar pattern of the previous one. So now in the try, first we're gonna import that set loading as true, and then we're gonna see what we can do. We're gonna make it a response, and that response, actually instead of typing that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna get that entire response from here. And also we can actually use all of that. Okay, now here what you need to do, instead of registration, we will just pass that as login, and also we need to pass that method as async. So now in the body we will not give the username, we're only going to give that email and password. So now if everything is okay, it gonna just head through to our, like the main server, not the main server, sorry, it will just head back to the home page. So these sections we're gonna keep it for right now. Okay, I just want to see the data, so I'm gonna just make that a log as the data, because now we don't want to push anything, because we want to see if we're receiving or not. Let's open our backend structure where it's saying MongoDB connected successfully. Now here type something, and also Don't forget to remember your console, and let's try. Okay, that's the login failed. Where is Mongo? Actually, oops, I'm in the wrong place, not here, because that's the production build one. So here in our localhost, let's try. So I'm gonna type something, put some password. Okay, where we cannot access, because as you see, we don't have username. So if we keep is failed, it will not give us that. And also we don't have username, and here also we don't have username. So just the simple mistake we are doing, but be careful once you're typing that. So now we will be able to talk to the API. If we click, as you see, we're getting a message, user created successfully, and also we are receiving the user. Now we'll be able to talk to the database. So let's go to the routes. Now we will talk hand to hand. So first of all, we are passing here. So we are receiving the console.body. We are getting the request. So now we need to destructure the request, and that one, it will be the const, and we are in the login route. Yes. So what we need to destructure, destructure is the email and password, because as you see, we are receiving only that, email and password, and we are receiving that from that request.body. And don't forget to put awaits, because we don't know, maybe it will take time to come on that portion, so it need to be better to be in safe. So now checking the user exists. Oops, exist or not. The simpler way, remember, we have done already before. So we will just make that const user, and that user, it will be await. Remember the user which has access to all the user. And now again we will use that same method, because with that find method we can find anything with that ID or email, but primarily we are going to use that email. So now if the user, now if user is not available, we want to log in with user, but that user is not available, so then we need to return something, and it will be a next response, and that response we're gonna pass it as JSON, and here we're gonna give it a error, and that error, it will be user does not exist. And also we need to pass an status of that message, and again I will give a 400. It's a bad request because the user is not available. And remember, we hash the password, right? So what I'm gonna do, this is the unhashed password, so I'm gonna remove that. So now we have that hashed password, so we need to access that hash password. How we can access? So to access that hash password, we need to validating the password. And how we can validate? So now const valid password, and again we will await for that decrypt, and then it will compare. Okay, it will compare with the password, and then password, it will be user.password. I'm not gonna explain much more about the decrypt things, because it's the things it's doing. So it just gonna compare the password we are giving, and it will get the hash value, and then it gonna encrypt. It will just reverse engineering to go through that actual value. So now if no valid password, so if the password is not valid, we will also pass a return value. So I'm just gonna copy that return value, and then return value that will be saying invalid password. Okay, and after that, when we are, because now we need to create the login session. So now creating the login, oops, it will be login session, and here const logged data. So we need to pass whatever the data we are receiving. Now we are receiving one ID, so we will pass the ID, which will be user.id, because remember, as you see in here, that ID, that's the ID actually, the MongoDB ID underscore ID. That's the way MongoDB actually looking through that ID. So that's the ID we want to pass, and then we want to pass that username, which gonna be user dot username, and then we're gonna pass that email because we will access that later on, user dot email. So now we have that logged data. So after the success is true, we will also pass that logged data to the front end so that we can access. So now in the login form, what actually we can do, remember, we are injecting some of the variable we just remove, just commenting that. So now if we are having an error, we're gonna show the error. If everything is okay, it's gonna take us to the home page. So let's try. So just give a reload. So the email we are using, that john@gmail.com. First make that like that, 1234 or 123. Let's see the error if you're receiving. As is talking, user does not exist. We know because we give a wrong email. So gmail.com. Now see what's error is coming. Yeah, password is invalid password. As you see, the error we can actually see because we are giving that console.log. So now if we give that valid password 123456, the strong password, so now okay, everything is accessible. Now we are having, but we have a user, but we don't know where is the user because we need to access the data. We need to save data somewhere. So to save data, I would love to use that Redux toolkit. You can use the cookies and some other thing, but it's very good practice whenever you are going to manipulate the state, because later on we're gonna create another e-commerce website, which actually it will be strong behavior where you can actually manage the state, access all the user data and other payment integration. So we are not going to use the cookies, but we're going to use that Redux toolkit to go through that. So let's go to quick start. We need to implement all of that. So let's okay, no, I think I made something wrong. Okay, it will be until that. Okay, so now we are having user. So just when it's installing, let's create one more user. So let's go to login. Let's just go to sign up. So now I'm gonna make my one because we deleted before one. We will just create that. Okay, user is created. That toast is not coming because of that portion of things. And let's see. Okay, that's cool. Now I think we're gonna have two user. Okay, we have two user. So now we can actually access those data if we actually are implementing that Redux toolkit properly. And to implement the Redux toolkit, we need to, I will take another folder inside that source folder, which gonna be name of Redux, and here we will pass that as store.ts. Now let's go to Redux toolkit, and it's very handy to implement. As you see, that's the things just we need to pass. Okay, we're passing that. So now how we pass the provider on it, because as you see the Redux toolkit is using the client-side library, so we cannot use that here. We cannot use that directly inject in our layout. We cannot inject directly there. It's a bad practice, but we're unable to do it also. So you cannot do it. So to implement that one, we need to, I will create another component. It will be just provider dot, or I will just give a big name, provider.tsx. Okay, RAFCE. So now here I'm gonna pass the provider. Okay, so here what I need to implement, let's see, in the documentation is giving clearly need to get the store, you need to get the provider. So let's just implement the provider. So that's the provider. Import provider from React Redux. Why it's giving error? Okay, so I'm gonna just make use client. That's it. Okay, I think some portion maybe. Okay, provider, because there is a coming with the, because we cannot inject directly in the. Okay, where is that? Did we implement that React Redux? I think yes, it's already there. So import provider from React Redux, store from that Redux store. Okay, let's import again. Provider from React Redux. I don't know, sometimes that error import declaration conflicts with local declaration of provider. Okay, instead of okay, that's the same name we're giving here. So okay, now that's actually not the problem with that providers, because that's the provider and also that's the provider, that's the conflicting happening. So we just need to give his providers. That's it. So now in the provider we will pass everything as children, and that children, how it gonna be, we will also declare that children, which is going to be as react node, I believe. Yeah, React node. And here we're gonna pass that providers, provider, and here it will be rendering the children. And now in the store we're gonna pass that store. So that's our setting up is done. So if we go back to our MongoDB application, just open the inspect Redux. As you see, that's just happening through before the previous one. So what we can actually do, the tree is just previous one. So right now we can actually access that providers in our layouts. So let's head back to our layout.tsx. Here this entire div, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just wrapping it through the providers, and if we hit the refresh, I think it will just show that Redux is available to go through the action. As you see, in it is action, and it's giving us that, I think, yeah, store does not have a valid reducer. So now we need to create the reducer, and to create the reducer we will just go to our store, that Redux, and we're gonna create another file which gonna be mongoslice.ts. and here what we need to do, we will import that create slice, and from that Redux toolkit it need to be done. So now here we will just we need to make some things. We need to create the initial state, and then we need to make that declare the slices, and then we need to export the slices and reducers. So that's the three action we can do actually here. So now const initial state, we will have only one state, single state, which will be user info, and by default it will be null. And now in the slices we will export, and the name it will be Mongo slice, and then inside that create slice we will pass an object, and here we're gonna give the name as Mongo. Just you can give any preferable name you want, and then we're gonna declare the initial state. Then we will pass the reducers, and that reducers we will have two reducers actually. First it will be add user, and then it gonna take as state and action as the parameter. Okay, so initial state initial, also that's the naming mistake. Okay, and now add user, what it gonna do, it gonna just take that not this previous state, and then it will access the user info, and then what it gonna do, whatever we're gonna pass through the action with the action payload, it gonna access, it gonna keep that as the, because it gonna just update that user info. By default we have null info. Whenever it gonna get that, whenever we're gonna give an action dot payload, it gonna get all the value and it gonna just push through here. And we're gonna just make that remove user, which gonna be take just an state, and it gonna just make that state dot user info, it will just make it as null. So it's gonna just give a default value. So now export part, so we will just make export const, and we're gonna make that add user and that remove user. So it will be from that mongo slice dot actions, and after that we're gonna also make that export default, and it will be mongo slice dot reducer. So now we can access that in our store, so that our provider it will be fulfilled. So let's go back to store. Now here we need to import that our reducer. So let's import mongo reducer from I think dot mongo slice. So now inside the reducer we need to pass two things. One is that mongo, the name, and then we're gonna pass that mongo reducer. So now if we just come here, just make a reload, or without reload also sometimes is coming, and if we go to the state, as you see we're having that user info. So now how we can access that data, how we can save that. Okay, so when we need to save that, once, because in the registration we are sending that data to the database. Once we are giving logged in, we are getting those parameter in the logging form, we are receiving everything here. That data is accessing all, as you see. I think yes, here we are making that router.push, so we are accessing everything here. So if we just make that log here, you can see, so just make that log as data. So let's see actually what we can see here. So the first nor at, also we'll open the console. As you see, user created, and we are accessing the logged data. So we can now actually get the log data from the data. So data dot log data. So we'll just access that portion. Let's go again, logged in to see. And it's okay. As you see, we're accessing these three data. So now here we can send the data to our database, not the database, to our store. And to make that, we will use that use dispatch. So it will coming from that use dispatch, and that we need to import from reducer, not import use dispatch. Oops, it will be outside of that, from React Redux. So now we can, like, before firing that push, before pushing that router in our home, we can actually make that, we can call that dispatch, and it will be add user, and that add user we're gonna pass that data dot logged data. Okay, so now we can pass that entire things to there. So let's go to Redux and let's see the state. Just look up over there. The state will be definitely changed if we just logged in. Okay, so create account, user is created, but did you receive anything? No, our state is still empty. And why is empty? Just we need to go with that little bit debugging. So now what we need to do actually, instead of accessing that data, that raw data entirely, so I'll close the others one. So instead of accessing all the data entirely, I'm gonna pass that data in a variable. Okay, logged data equal to it will be data dot logged data, that data we are passing. So that's the data we can actually access. So now here we can pass that again, dispatch add user, and now this time we will pass that logged data. So let's see if we can access this time or not. So just I'll keep a reload. Okay, create an account, and now as you see, our data is available. We get the ID, get the username, get the email, but the problem is once you refreshing, the data is disappear. Okay, so first of all, let's just go through login, because we will create other field, then we will go to save it in a real time. Okay, so now we are having that. So now let's go to our the portion we create, the homepage portion. Remember here actually we made some changes. So now here we need to access that. So how we can access that data? So const user info we can access using that use selector, and that selector we can pass it will take any states. Okay, state, and then let's see what we are getting is from the state, and also we need to import that use selector from React Redux. Okay, so now log user info. So let's see. Okay, we can access the user info. It's giving us Mongo. So state dot mongo dot user info. So you can define the types. For just for right now, I will just keep in at any. So now we can access that user. So now what we can do here, instead of this raw text, we can go through with an actual value. So what we're gonna do, if we'll tap if user info is available, then it will be user info dot id. Otherwise it just gonna give us that default present variable. As you see, we're receiving the id, and the similar way user info is available, then user info dot name. Otherwise it gonna gives username. You can split the message the way you feel preferable. I'm just showing you the much you can do actually with that. So now you can, after if you just following me in a very similar way, you will receive all those things and everything gonna be work for sure. So that depends on, okay, it will be username. So if you access everything in a proper way, you're gonna receive that, and you can pass through any data, any valuable data you want. It will be just simple to pass. So now also that logging we will change. So to change that one, I'll just remove that. Let's just copy this one. Let's head back to our header, and also here we're gonna use that use selector. And remember, use selector is a third-party library, so don't forget to make it as use client, otherwise it will freak out. So now what actually we want, so in that header on that logging from, so we will create another button. So that's the first button available. So now user info is available, one not available, another one. So if user info is available, it will be like logout. So let's see, you see the logout button. Now this logout button, it will not jeopardize with that, so we will just create an on-click event on that, and that one it will be handle logout. And that handle logout, it will make some simple action. So that one it will be const handle logout, and also we're gonna pass that default value should not be there. React dot, it will be mouse event, and then HTML element. Okay, so now also we will just make any default value should be disappear. So what is gonna happen once the logout portion is being clicked? So let's also use the dispatch. It will be coming from use dispatch, which is also coming from use selector from the React Redux. So now what is gonna happen whenever we are giving that logout portion? So it's gonna create a dispatch, and that dispatch it will be remove user. That's the simple thing. And also we will access the router portion. So const router, it will be use router, and again it should be from that next navigation, and then that router dot dot push, and it will access to us the login. So whenever we click in that, as you see, it's reload, that's why it had been gone. So first of all, let's just access on that, or at gmail.com, access it. So we have the data available. Okay, just give it a time, maybe the internet is getting slow. Okay, so now we can access those data. If we click in the logout, as you see, once we click, the data is okay, user info data is still available. Okay, something wrong. No, data is not there. Okay, some way it's just, yeah, it's just taking time to give it a null. But the problem is here, so I'll just remove that. So even there is a tiny bit of problem. We are logged out, we are logged in, but if we just make reload, our data is gone. So to go out from there, I just removed that Redux toolkit. So there is a very cool thing is coming from that Redux toolkit, which is saying as that persist. We need to use that persist reducer to just help us to save our data, because it will access the local storage and keep the data safe for us. So to do that, first we need to make that npm I React Redux persist, and here we need to access everything from the persist. What we need to access, we will access the storage and these two portion. So let's go to the store. We are already having the configure store, so we need to have this one. Then we need to, okay, we have that. Also we need to access these two, and in the root reducer we will just pass our Mongo reducer. Now in the store, that configure store, we need to replace this. Okay, and here instead of this, how we can pass our store variable. So I'm gonna take it in an object. We're gonna just pass it the value as Mongo, and now we need to implement one more thing. What that is, we need to pass that persister. So, and now instead of that, we need to export our persister, so with that we can access that persister in our local time. So now we are accessing that. Where we keep that, it will be in the provider. So now here, okay, we need to use that persist get. Okay, that's the persist get. Let's see for the integration what you're getting. Yeah, integration react should be there. Okay, so now here it will take a parameter, and that parameter, the persister, we need to get the persister. Where we are, persister, we need to get the persister from our React store. So now we are saving everything in our local storage. So let's try to go and create a login, and this time at okay. So now we are having the data. So now you can play with that every time. It will not disappear until you keep the logout. So if we keep the logout, as you see, data is removed, we are going back to logged in. So now the problem is, even if I logged out, we can access that page. So if we not logged in, we cannot see that page. So this one you can use, do it as used by middleware, which you need to use the cookies. I'm gonna show you in a later video how you can use the cookies as a middleware. But today we will create an use effect hook to implement that one. So to do that, let's go to our components. We will make that configure layout. Okay, .tsx. Okay, now RAFCE. So now first of all, what I want to do, because we will make it as a use client, we will use the use reducer and then the use effect and use selector from there. So now here, first one is that children, it will be available, and that children, it will be children react note. Okay, so now we will access that user info. Remember, we are having that already. So that's the user info you're accessing. So also we will make that router, which will be use router. Okay, now we can pass that use effects hook. It will maybe not 100% stick forward because we need to manipulate the use layout much more than it can be a bulletproof. So now what we want to say, if the user info is not available, so there is no user info, what we can do, replace login or registration. So if the user is not logged in, we need to force the user to go to that, like you need to make that login or sign up with that. Until it's sign up, it cannot access those things. So we are accessing that and giving the user info. So now let's go back to layout. Now just see one thing, because we cannot pass that one as inside the layout again. So where actually if we pass in, because in the top level we cannot pass, because we need to keep inside that providers. Okay, that's why it will not give you that 100% thing. So we need to wrap everything with another provider. Maybe that time it can actually go that, give that, but it will save the purpose for our today's build. So let's try that, and it will also give you that idea how you can build such kind of things. So now let's go. So if it's not logged out, we should not be able to see that portion. Okay, what's happening? Okay, I think we may have done something wrong. It should be there. Okay. We made a silly mistake, a very silly mistake, because instead of that we need to pass the children, because if we not pass the children, it will show whatever it has. So in the return value, I will just put an empty braces, and then I'm gonna pass that children. So it's gonna give us to the login. So let's try to go in the page. As you see, it's giving a flicker of bit, because if we put in the top level, that flicker, it will not come. So now let's go, we can access the sign up, we can access the login. So let's create an account. So let's try give a name of YouTube. So YouTube, and the password is, and let's see what it's saying. Email is not valid, so gmail.com. Let's create an account created successfully. So even we have been created the account, still we cannot access any of the routes. Okay, even though you cannot be able to access any of the not found page also, it will just flicker will be there, but you cannot access it. So let's YouTube at gmail.com. let's give a wrong password just to see. Yeah, that's working. Now create an account. Let's see. Now we can access all the datas. We can access the 404 pages. We can go back to the pages, and we can also but we cannot access that login pages. Okay, we cannot access the login pages. So it's okay, we can access. Okay, so we need to also give something else. Okay, router dot replace. Now here, okay, just for now I will just see if it's working or not. If we are logged in, let's see if we access the login. No, we cannot access the login 404 page. We cannot access. So for that also we can, now we need to actually identify and declare what kind of page we can do or cannot do. So that's the problem with that. Okay, not found page we can access. Let's see. Okay, we can access. No, we cannot access. So that's the tricky things actually. So it depends on the configuration we are giving, so that it can actually give the access and reassure us to the things. So even I don't have the pages, so also let's not give it a not found pages, so it will be just click there. If its pages is not there, it will just redirect. So you can manipulate the logic, you can do as the way you want. So enough with that. So now for our today's issue, I'm gonna close that, and I'm gonna give you entire things, and let's start with that. I'm gonna make it that git init, and also I'm gonna make it as git add dot, so it will add everything. Let's see if a and b and everything is just captured. Okay, env dot local. And now what we need to do, commit m, so it will be initial commit. And now let's go and let's create another repository, new repository. So it will be Mongo login. Okay, YouTube. So I'm gonna keep it as public so you can access that one. So create that repository, and also I'm gonna make main. And now after that I'm gonna access that remote, and then git push u origin main. So now you can have the access to that you can actually feel free to access those portions. The link, it will be in the description below, and if you have any query of something, feel free to reach me in the comments below, and then I will come to you. So this is the things you can access that for the designing purpose, access that one to give us having you an idea how actually the things is working. So feel free to come over here and give it an idea and give it a try. What I'm recommending you to do it, try harder to implement whatever things you have been learned with the MongoDB, because it's gonna help a lot to you in future, because we're gonna having a very good build on it. So I hope you can do it, and we'll see you in the next video.